Hi, welcome to Through the League Lens. My name is Elisa Campbell, and my guest today is David Mazor, who runs a program called Reader to Reader that just sounds really interesting. You sent me some information about some of them, and it's like page and a half single space, and that's not even all of them.
Well, thank you, and I look forward to telling you about it. And we do a lot of different things, but I think all of them are tied to global literacy, so they all intersect at a certain point of book lovers, and whether those are book lovers that are children, whether those are book lovers that are adults, and whether those are book lovers that are book donors.
And you started kind of locally, I guess. I mean, you live in Amherst, and you do this from Amherst, but you started in Massachusetts, and now you're global, or at least international.
This is, global, you know, it's a big globe.
Right.
But, you know, and it's interesting, we are in 14 countries. If you ask me to name all countries, I usually forget some of them, so don't quiz me.
Be like Rick Perry and get
I'm gonna forget something. But actually, just yesterday, Mexico was not a country that we were involved in, and just yesterday we had a school in Mexico. It's in the rural section of Mexico that needed books and contacted us. So actually, we just added another country just yesterday. We did start locally. This is our 10th year. And I founded Reader to Reader a decade ago when my youngest daughter was going to school in Massachusetts at Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts out in North Adams.
Right.
And a decade ago was that whole recession that came with the dot-com boom and everything.
Right.
And what had happened at that time was there was one of our periodic state budget crises.
Oh yeah,
and we're all familiar with that.
We are, yes.
And what happens is they all start looking around and saying, we're going to slash this, we're going to slash that. And the state library budget, I believe, was somewhere around $14 million for the entire state system. And
I'm sure very little of it trickled out to North Adams.
Yeah, and what they did is right off the bat, they said, we're going to cut the state library funding to like $5 million. And then I think that they as the recession deepened, and I'm doing this sort of from memory, if someone looks up the numbers and say that wasn't the number, so it's all from memory. I think they cut it again to like $2 million. I mean, it was just really, really bare bones at that point. And my daughter was going to college out in North Adams, and I was working on a project where I had gotten a lot of books. It was a writing project, and I'd gotten a lot of interesting books from Cambridge University Press. So I thought, well, I'll bring those to, I don't need them anymore, I finished the project. Rather than have them sit on my shelf, I'll stop in at the library. She had been home for one of those periodic weekend visits, and I was driving her back on a Monday morning.
I can take these too.
Yeah, I thought I'll bring these bag of books with me, and I'll stop into the library, and see if the librarian's interested. And when I did that, I showed them to the librarian, and since they were brand new, he was very excited, and he said, well, we haven't actually been able to buy any books for the past 2 years. And I was just kind of appalled at that point. I thought, well, here's the college where my daughter's going, and they should be able to get the books, you know, to do their research. And I thought, you know, this is a college library in Massachusetts. I thought that was really strange. And he said, well, you know, what little library funding we have, we use to keep some of our periodical subscriptions. Some of those were online, even at that time, to keep those databases that they accessed, those subscriptions going. And so they just didn't have any money to buy books. And I thought, well, you know what, North Adams is a very isolated little area, but Amherst is this really book-rich area. My father at that time was a Hampshire College professor, and I'd grown up in a household with lots and lots of books, and I thought, you know, my father knows lots of professors. I'll talk to him, I'll talk to other people that I know that are professors, and I know they get a lot of samples. They have a lot of books on their shelves for things that they had been using for research, much the way I had been, and see if I could collect some books. And it was almost like I'd uncorked a geyser, because there are just so many books here. And in really no time, I had collected 1,000 books. And I realized, you know, a lot of these books are expensive. I mean, they're $50 a piece.
Sure.
I realized to bring $50,000 worth of resources to a library that hasn't had any books at all for the last 2 years is not that difficult thing to do. So that got me really excited. I started bringing bags of books. I just put them in my trunk every weekend that my daughter came home. I'd on the way back, I'd bring a couple boxes and I'd bring them into the librarian. And I'd say, well, how am I doing? They had an online card catalog, so I could check the books against the card catalog, and I saw that the books weren't in the library yet. And I thought, well, hopefully that means that they're, books that would seem timely and of interest. And they were very, very excited about them. And that, sort of fed my own enthusiasm. So I started really getting the word out that I was collecting books. And before I knew it, I had about 5,000 books collected. They were all filling up my garage.
I bet.
And all of a sudden I realized that there's more books. The books were coming in faster than I could bring them in the trunk of my car. And so MCLA actually sent a truck out.
And picked them up.
And picked them up. They were really enthused about the books, and they were, I was really, I think, meeting a need that they had. And as I started collecting the books, people started offering me books for younger ages and said, if you're collecting, are you collecting books for high schools or whatever? And I said, well, actually, I'm just collecting books for Mass College of Liberal Arts and helping their library. But I was aware that people started to think of me as the guy who's collecting books.
Right. So.
And this was just a project that I was running in my garage, and all of a sudden, one night I was sleeping, and all of a sudden I woke up about it must have been 3 a.m, and I just had this thought. I thought, I wonder where the poorest high school in the country is. And I just threw on a bathrobe, and I went out. I had a computer on a desk in a little hallway at the top of the stairs, and I booted up the computer, and I thought, well, how do I do this? I went onto Google and I typed in poorest state, and up came Mississippi, because I didn't know what the poorest state. I had some guesses, but and then so I said, well, okay, poorest town in Mississippi. And up came an article, I think it was from Time magazine, talking about Durant, Mississippi as possibly the poorest town in Mississippi. Now I think there were actually lots of really poorest towns in Mississippi, but this was the one that the writer had singled out. And so I just wrote that down and went back to bed. And in the morning, I got up and started again. I Googled Durant, Mississippi High School, and there was the phone number, and I called up the school, and I said, do you have a librarian? They said, oh, we do. I said, could I speak to the librarian? And they put me through, and I said, I'm up here in Massachusetts. I've been started collecting books, and I've started to get a lot of books that are for high school age, and I just wonder, I could send them to you free of charge. I just wonder if you need books. And she said to me, we haven't bought a new book in 40 years. And I just was stunned.
Stunning.
Because 2 years, it sounded like a long time to me when I started the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I just said, well, you want books, I'll get you books.
Yeah, so...
And so that really off and running and started the project.
Right.
And I started getting more schools that needed books. At the end of the first year, I had 35 schools, a lot of them in Mississippi, that I was sending boxes of books to. And I was sort of putting the postage on my credit card. I would load up my trunk of my car with boxes and go down to the post office and carry them all in and post
well,
them.
The people behind you grumbled and whatever.
Yeah,
here's this guy.
I just need these 15 boxes, but I don't know why you're so unhappy.
Right.
So that's how it sort of started. And at that point, I realized that this was something that I was very, very passionate about, and that I needed to formalize it and form a nonprofit organization, so that first and foremost I could fundraise for things like postage. And so that's how Reader to Reader began. In fact, sometimes people ask me about the name. I didn't really have a name until we went to form the organization. I went to a lawyer and asked him. He said, "Well, what's it called?" And it just popped into my head. I thought, well, it's really about one reader passing on books to another reader, and that direct connection. And that was sort of the heart of creating that connection. And that's how the name came about.
Well, you sent us some pictures of some of the places you're working now, and one of them is in Navajo's. And there's I don't know, 3 or 4 pictures that we can get edited in here at this point. But so give me a short story, because we're almost halfway through already.
Oh my goodness.
Believe it or not, about the Navajos.
So here's where we grew incrementally, and I could tell you some other things. In 2005, I'd been doing this for another number of years, and Hurricane Katrina hit.
True.
And we announced a book drive to help Hurricane Katrina, and I sort of set a goal, like maybe we could collect 100,000 books, which just seemed to me to be this sort of fantastic
to replace
goal,
the ones that got destroyed.
To replace the ones that got destroyed, and we collected over 2 million. A lot of them didn't come to us directly.
Right,
we
but
would then
the organization
say,
did,
okay, here's a book drive in Minnesota, and we will now connect you up to where the books can be shipped. We created guidelines that they could follow and the whole thing. We sort of concurrent with a lot of that work, as we learned about where the poorest places in the United States were. Actually, this it precedes it a little. The Navajo actually precedes that a little bit. I got a map, and I got the 10 poorest counties in the United States, and the Navajo Nation in Arizona and New Mexico is the poorest part of the United States. And so I started contacting schools there, and started working with one particular school that was in a very isolated town of just several thousand that had a 85% unemployment rate. It's a town that had a sawmill, and the sawmill closed.
And that was it.
That was it. And they had a school library in their high school that had a very threadbare collection of antiquated books, and that really launched us into doing work on the Navajo Nation. And over a period of time, we replenished our library with 11,000 books that were current and relevant and exciting for them to read. And from that, our work expanded on the Navajo Nation.
I bet.
At this point, we've donated about $1 million worth of books to the Navajo Nation, including some very large book drives. The photo that people are looking at, we do an annual book drive for the Navajo Nation library, which is the community library.
Okay.
To give you
so this stack of boxes is for the community library.
And just to give you a sense of it, the Navajo Nation is about 26,000 square miles. So it's very large. We're dealing with large amount of territory there. And there is one primary community library that serves that entire area.
Right.
They have since just recently opened up a small branch library that has about 5,000 books. When I visited that library, they had a very tired collection of books that were just books that had sort of been purged from other libraries and discarded. And I thought, we again have so many books here that would benefit a community library.
These are both fiction and nonfiction.
That's right. So we set a goal with our Navajo Nation library book drive to do 100,000 books for them. And we're still in the process of that. So the picture is what we do is usually collect about 400 to 500 boxes at a time. And then actually Navajo library officials fly out here, rent a very large truck, and we load it up, and then it takes them 4.5 days to drive back to Arizona, is where that is.
But some of the books also don't even come to Amherst first, right? Don't you have?
That's correct. That's correct. As we have grown, We work with a lot of interesting organizations. We have book drives that we've done in partnership with the Mystery Writers of America, which is the largest trade association for mystery writers. And we did a book drive with them for the Navajo Nation Library, where different chapters of the mystery writers would collect boxes. These are a lot of the famous authors that we've all read would donate their books, and then they would go to the Navajo Nation Library. Last year, we again turned our focus to the community libraries in Mississippi, the rural community libraries, and we did that in partnership with the Mystery Writers of America. And so they mailed books. We worked with them as to which libraries and what their requests were, and got them thousands of books. So we have really grown from just a small little project to a large thing. We also donate computers. We have a computer donation program, which has built computer labs. We've built computer labs on the Navajo Nation. It's in schools in Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, and as close as Springfield. In fact, just this week we're going to be donating 5 computers to a center that works with people who've just gotten out of being incarcerated and are doing job searches, and they need computers for that.
They sure do.
And so we're going to set up 5 computers for them. So we've grown even beyond just books. The other thing that and to talk about what we do in the local area, we have a very heavy emphasis on Springfield, Holyoke, Chicopee, West Springfield public schools, and we donate somewhere around 50,000 books a year.
Also, working with parents or new parents, about to be parents, so they can help their kids. Is that the Athena?
The Athena program, which there's a picture here of that. One of our changes over the last 3-4 years was from just a book donation service to an overall literacy organization. And now we run a number of online and face-to-face literacy programs. The Athena program works with teen mothers. They have mostly grown up in homes where they didn't get exposed to books themselves. And what we do is we have a very interesting program. We are based at Amherst College, in the basement of the Cadogan Center for Religious Life. And during the summertime, we're able to use some of the other space when school's out, and we bring them in for a program that's a reading, writing, family literacy, and healthy eating and cooking.
Wow.
And Chef Bill Collins, who's a local chef, comes and teaches them cooking that they can learn to do low-fat recipes with their for their young children and for themselves. And we have really interesting people. Noted writing teacher Peter Elbow
from UMass,
from UMass, comes and does creative writing with them. We do poetry writing. We go to a recording studio and record their poetry. We have authors such as Norton Juster come in and talk about writing children's books. This picture is them actually they make their own board book for them to share with their child. And so we do more face-to-face programs than we did initially, trying to show them the important role that mothers play in being the first teacher for their children. And it may be a role that their own mother hasn't played with them. So family literacy is something that we've moved into. We now have an offshoot of that program called Discover Books. And Discover Books works with teen parents, not in fact just teen mothers, but also teen fathers in the Springfield school system. And we bring the same kind of hands-on literacy crafts and projects that they can do with their young children right into the Springfield schools.
Now, from the point of view of people who see this show, if they think they have books that they would like to give you,
we would love it. We would love it.
We will have something on the screen about how to contact Reader to Reader to do that. But are there particular kinds of books that you're especially looking for, or is it literally everything from child's picture book to college textbooks? Or
Well, that's a good question. We span initially it was just this project
Right.
for colleges, but actually now we span every age group. Because of the work we do with shelters and outreach programs, preschools, on early literacy, we have the Read While You Wait room is a project at the Department of Transitional Assistance in Roxbury. Parents come in, they're waiting to get their benefits, and often they'll wait as long as 5 hours.
Oh, sure.
So we have...
Rather than just sit there and...
Right.
Yeah.
We have shelves where they can get books and they can take those books home. So often those children are quite young. So we span every age group from the youngest ages that can be, they
Carried
can really
around.
chew on the book is the first thing that you do before you even get to
Right.
reading it, chewing on the book.
Right.
To books for seniors, because we do community libraries,
Right.
our rural community library initiatives, our Navajo Nation community library initiative. So we span that broad
Yeah.
range.
Now, how about condition of the books?
That is a critical thing.
Yeah. Because you don't want, obviously, moldy things or
No.
what. But
I think from the very beginning, what made us effective is we thought everybody who opens up a box, it should be sort of like a Christmas present.
Yeah.
The books should be the books that they're excited about, that they need, and should be in a condition that is worth receiving. And we've grown, we've been fortunate enough to have developed relationships with publishers. We work closely with Random House, we work closely with Scholastic, so we now get a percentage of new books that we didn't have initially. When we take in used books, which we take a tremendous amount of, we want those books to be in really great condition. What I like to say is when you buy a novel and enjoy reading it and have finished it, don't shelve it and let it age 10, 15 years.
so the paper's falling apart and whatever.
Right then, donate it and let somebody else
Enjoy.
read that novel that just came out. And that's really the ideal thing. We also get books from books that are left over from League of Women Voters, the Belchertown Library Book Sale, the Sunderland Library Book Sale, the Northampton one that's held at Smith Vocational. So what we do in those situations is we very carefully cull out the books that are in excellent condition, so that the books we ship are not just sort of a random distribution, not only of titles but also of quality, but have been really checked through for quality. I mean, condition.
Yeah, you don't want a
really.
science book from 1982 or something.
Right.
That's not going to be.
and if a kid is going to read about a young boy or girl growing up in Chile, it really can't be Chile in 1972 that the library is discarded. It's got to be about how children are there today. And if we look at places like China that have had rapid change.
Yeah, Mao Zedong is not
that's
really.
That's right. An old children's book or for young adult about that really wouldn't be accurate about the modern world with them. So we are very, very conscious of that condition. I would note to people that we do not overall take encyclopedias.
Or Old National Geographics.
Right. We don't take National Geographics as well.
Yes,
but the people constantly call me and they say, I have this world book. It's barely been used.
Right. Mint condition.
Mint condition from 1962 or 1957.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we can't take that.
Right.
They're very heavy. They cost a lot to ship.
Right.
And we try to keep the reference materials current. And I know what everybody feels like. Yeah, but the Civil War, it's still. But
there's only been several hundred rooms full of books about the Civil War since then.
That's right.
Yes,
that's right. So we actually have been very fortunate that the Jones Library has donated to us encyclopedias that are just several years old that they turn over. That's about the only situation usually that we would take an encyclopedia. So if someone's thinking, great, I found a place for that 50-year-old Britannica. Unfortunately, we can't take that. But we take in such a broad range.
Yeah.
People do sometimes say, what do you do with books that you can't use? And actually, this is where things go around in a circle, because often they're books that are very interesting books, but maybe they sort of have like one more read in them.
Yeah.
And those books we bring down to the League of Women Voters.
So
and
there's
they're
this
collecting.
recycling
So it goes around
thing.
because often there's a book that is really of interest, and it could be anything from a cookbook to a mystery,
Sure.
but it maybe just has that sort of 1 25-cent read left in it.
Right.
That it takes people have to remember that for a library to put a book into a collection takes a lot of work. A catalog. And it can't be
Sure.
a book that like the pages are about to fall out.
Right.
So, but that still could be a book that's useful within our own community. So we do try to place books so that other organizations like the League, like the Belchertown Library, can fundraise with those, and that people can get books that they like to
Yeah.
read. So we do take in a broad range. Moldy books is where
Yeah.
we really
Well,
draw the line,
no one else wants them
because
either,
nobody
'cause-
wants it.
Right.
And unfortunately, in New England,
That's
a lot
easy,
of us
isn't it?
have basements that are moist. And when you pull a book out that's been sitting on a shelf and it has that musty smell, unfortunately, we can't use it.
There's no way
And
to get rid of that.
no way to get rid of it, and it can contaminate other books.
Sure.
So we have to draw the line there.
Yeah.
But we love taking in books, and again, hopefully at the end of this program, we can show
Yeah.
where it is that you
Right.
can contact
Yeah,
us.
we have the website and the phone number on a
That's wonderful.
thing
And
that
you can go to the
comes-
website also to learn more about the various programs. We do have a very interesting program that we're going to launch this
Yeah.
summer
We've
called...
got a little over 2 minutes,
I can tell
so.
us one.
Okay.
This was 30 seconds.
Okay.
We have a new program called Generation W, and that is going to link low-income teen girls in Amherst with seniors for sort of intergenerational learning.
Senior citizens.
Senior citizens.
Yes, okay. People like
yeah.
me.
I think I'm getting there too. That for an intergenerational learning experience. The idea is that they're going to write together and
Right.
tell stories together.
right.
And hopefully the students will be motivated about creative writing, but it's something we'll do intergenerationally. So we're launching a number of very
Yeah.
interesting literacy programs. We have literacy programs all over the world. One of our programs is designed to get college students to be interested in nonprofit work and help them launch
Sure.
global literacy projects. That program is called the Springboard Program, and we help them learn how to craft a project and help them gather resources. And we have projects right now in Nigeria and the Dominican Republic and Costa Rica, and actually we have a new program that's going to be in Myanmar, which just had its first free
Myanmar,
election.
Burma, with,
That's
yeah,
right.
right.
Going to have its first free elections, and there's a Amherst College student actually who is from there, and she wants to bring resources back there. So we're doing a number of interesting things. Since we have so little time, I just invite people to go to our website and
look
learn
it
more
all
about
up.
it.
Yeah, because there's other pictures which we may or may not find a way to sneak in here, but there's something going on in Haiti. There's kids working together in Chicopee on their books, reading their books, and summer enrichment programs and
Absolutely.
stuff
We do
like
a
that.
lot of exciting stuff. We have a lot of volunteers, and that's what makes it possible. So we encourage people,
So,
if they are interested,
Even
to
if they don't
contact
have
us.
any books, they
Even
could
if they don't have any books.
contact you, or they could come in with their books and
That's right.
volunteer.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, it's been just mind-blowingly interesting, and the time it always goes pretty quickly, but it really has gone quickly here, and it's so exciting to have something like this going on, and happens to be based in Amherst and things like that. It just really is a terrific thing. I'd heard the name, but until we saw the article in the paper, we just kind of hadn't gotten ourselves going to call you up or email you and ask you to come in. And it's really, I don't know, how many people actually work there?
Well, Reader to Reader has about 20 community volunteers that are all people from the Amherst community,
Okay.
and we have about 50 to 60 Amherst College work-study
Okay,
students working
and I have
with
to
us
stop
every
you
year.
there. Thank you for watching, and go look at the website and find out even more about it. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you very much.